What's up, guys? Gonna be working on this Munters unit. It's a beautiful day out here. Look at this. This is incredible. I can't do an office. This is for me right here. After Labor Day, it's cooling down, favorite time of year. We got a call for this Munters unit. Had a little high humidity over the weekend. We're gonna start digging into it. First thing I like to do is always look at the controller, and we don't have any alarms here. Hopefully you guys can see the controller okay. Hit escape for status. Ambient conditions. Okay, we got pressure in there. Whoa! Okay. So now we know all of our suction transducers, which are right here, are reading in the negatives. So I've ran into this before, and it's really not too bad. So if you look at these suction transducers, these little white wires, tells you what your suction pressure is, runs up here into these little expansion boards, right there, boom, boom. And it talks to the corral. It tells it what the suction pressure is. But, you know, if they're all four of them are bad like that, there's no way that every single transducer is bad. So what you do is you look down here, and yep, see that right side? We got LEDs, we got a green light. Over here, we got nothing. Maybe a tiny little amber light, but really nothing. So we know that board is fried. And if you look over here, here's our wiring diagram. That's the right one, expansion board number 2. And then right here, get our power from 28, 171, 172, 173, 174. Those are our thermistors, and that feeds back to the board, or not thermistors, pressure transducers. And then they go back to the board so it can read the pressure. So we know that's the right board. I'm gonna get another board. I have a coworker that has one, and I'll come back here and change it out and see what that does. But this is a pretty easy call. I'm pretty happy with this. But if you guys don't know what this unit does, it's a big dehumidifier, and it keeps the humidity out of the building, obviously, so that your frozen food cases don't ice up, and your doors for your cases don't fog up, because that's going to affect product sales, and you don't want that to happen in a supermarket. So I can walk you guys through it pretty quickly. All the compressors feed into an evaporator right there, pulls in fresh air through this grill right here, your blower's right there, and it goes through the evaporator. Then it hits a desiccant wheel. The desiccant wheel just spins slowly, and it removes even more moisture from the air, and it heats the air back up a little bit, and then it gets put in the building. And if these units go down, you're gonna see fogged up doors. You know, these are really critical to the building infrastructure. I'll turn it off so you guys can see some things. Just hit that little disconnect there. All right, so as you can see here, here's your evaporators. You got 4 of them because you got 4 compressors, and it's just a big rectangle. And so the air's coming in through right here. That's the outside air. Could be 90 degrees. This is gonna cool it down to like 50, 60 something degrees, something like that. It's gonna lose a lot of moisture right there. And you can see this is your drain pan. So it's gonna drop the moisture out of the air when it comes in contact with the cold evap. Here's your trap over here. So that's where this thing dumps gallons per hour in the summer when it's real humid down here in the south. And yeah, then after you go through the evaporator, here's your desiccant wheel. Big old desiccant wheel. And this is like the stuff you find in your shoebox that just removes moisture. That's all it does. And this is reusable. So this side would be the side that's absorbing moisture. The other side is actively being dried out. You can see there's a separation here, right there. And the other side is drying out. So this thing turns very slowly. So it's drying out about half while it's using the other half to absorb moisture. Then this blower's throwing that dry, warmer air into the building. And then I'll show you guys. Okay, so this first compressor is special because it has a drive for the condenser fan, and it also has a separate condenser from these 3 compressors. So it uses that warm, hot condenser air to dry that other side of the desiccant wheel. And it does that by modulating the condenser fan speed using the drive. So it maintains 444 psi on 410A, which is pretty high. And those coils tend to leak a little bit, so go figure. But overall, really solid systems, really easy to service, really easy to work on. We'll come over here, I'll show you guys so this is your big condenser. This is your other 3 compressors right here. Okay. Then you have your gas furnace. I'll explain what that does in a minute. Now this is that separate condenser for that A compressor for your dehumidification. So there's your coil. And you come in here, so right here, so you can see the condenser right there. Boom. So it's taken, here's this little blower right here. So that's sucking that hot condenser air through this wheel. There's the belt for it that turns it. There's the motor that turns it, very high torque. And then this is where we're drying out that desiccant so that we can reuse it and absorb moisture on the other side. It's very energy efficient, pretty cost effective, and typically, unless you're in like Florida or something, they don't have to be removed or changed. It's just reusable, and they stay nice and clean as long as you have good filter changes. And it's a really nice system. I love working on these. But that's a pretty basic overview of how it works. I'm gonna grab that expansion board and be back in a jiff and see if we can get that to read the suction pressures. All right, we're back with our expansion board. We're gonna replace that. And Carell is so nice, dude. I mean, and so is Munters. They're just like, you don't even need a screwdriver. We're just gonna undo these plugs here. Boom, 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 boom. We're gonna slide this off the DIN rail that it's mounted to. And then we're gonna hook it all back up and just see what we get. All right, that was super duper easy. We got that new expansion board in. Just a couple plugs. Pull it off the DIN rail, pry it off. Let's fire it back up. Close the doors because it has door switches that will cut the power to the board if they're not closed. All right, and we're booting up. Let's see what we get. It's gonna go through a little self-test. Oh, while it's going through the self-test, I forgot to explain what the heat portion does. So this is a big gas furnace. It's got 2 stages. So when you're not using the compressor, say in the winter, if you're bringing in air that's already not humid because it's cool and not humid in the winter, you can add reheat, and this will fire and add heat to that air that you're bringing in, so you can still pressurize the building, add your heat, but not freeze the building out. Because if this is not working, you're sending in 100% 32-degree air, or whatever it may be, in whatever geographic region you live in. So that's pretty important. This is a really simple gas furnace. It's got ignition module, gas valve, super simple. If you know how a gas furnace works, you know how this works. You can work on it. It's a piece of cake. Let's go see what our board's doing. So I had to take a phone call, but this thing, I just turned the switch back on. Immediately, compressor 1 fired up. Let's check our transducers. Yep, there's our 444 head pressure. Yep, and now we're reading suction pressures. That's all I needed was the expansion board. So that's pretty much it. That's a really simple one for today. I'm just kind of starting out slow. But if you guys like what you see or want to ask questions, let me know. All right, that was a really easy call. We got really lucky with that one. Those are the kind that you love getting. You've seen them before. A little bit boring, but you make the most out of it. Beautiful weather. It's not bad. I just want to hit on infiltration and why pressurizing the building is helpful. I did feel like I didn't go that in depth on that. So they call it the building envelope in like building science. So if I was to stand in the doorway of a supermarket and I lit a match, if that smoke went inside, if it got sucked inside, that's because your building's at a negative pressure. It's in a vacuum, essentially. Just like when you breathe in, your diaphragm pulls down, it creates that vacuum effect, air goes in. And that's the same thing that would happen if the store didn't have those Munters pressurizing the building, because they have exhaust fans that are constantly shooting air, ejecting it out of the building. So that creates that negative pressure. So what we want is if we could stand in the front of the building, light a match, and that air goes out of the building, because we want to reduce in the summer and the coldest months the amount of hot or cold air entering the building, because it's very expensive, because I have to add or remove BTUs, which costs electricity. And you could do the math on exactly how much that costs. You could say it cost me X amount to move this amount of BTUs for this amount of time. They all factor this in to their costs. And if they had large exorbitant heating and cooling costs, they pass those expenses onto the customer. So it's in our best interest that, you know, their heating and cooling costs are low, because we like cheap groceries, right? So that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. I really enjoyed just kind of talking and showing you guys what I do. All right, y'all have a good one.